Hey everyone, this is Hillary with Dominion Tea, and today we're going to talk about infusers. So we've got a wide variety here, including some of the older ones. So we're going to walk you through how to use them, some characteristics, and some pros and cons of each one. But before we talk about the infusers themselves, we need to talk about tea and volume. So when we talk about volume, we're actually talking about the size of the tea leaf. So for instance, Da Hung Pao has got a large volume because it's got a large leaf. Whereas a Multi-Assam Black, which is a cut tear curl tea, are these tiny little beads that you can barely see that take up almost no room. And that volume is going to affect how you use the infusers and which ones you need. So why don't we take a look at each of them? So here we have a wide variety of infusers, but the first thing to consider when picking out an infuser is the size of your tea leaf. The longer the leaf, the more room it needs. So if you start with something like this, which is a nice big infuser, it's going to work very well for this Da Hung Pao. One drawback that you got to consider with this one is there's no extending sides. So it's meant for a certain diameter cup, which may or may not work in your favor. So you'll have to keep that in mind. But this is nice and big and leaves a lot of room. So for those of you wondering, both of these are 3 grams. So it's the exact same weight of tea, but they take up different space. Here's another infuser meant for larger leaf. Again, this one's got a little bit longer, right? So it will work with a different variety of cups. Making it a little bit more adjustable and easier to play with. So many of us are aware of Grandma's tea ball. And so this is a fun one, but here's the hard part. To get 3 grams of tea into this, it's going to take up both sides. And we're going to test exactly what that does a little bit later. You can dig even farther back, and I will admit all of these come out of my personal collection, to your really old tea ball. And what this poor little thing does, right, to get Da Hung Pao in there, that's a gram. So that is 1/3 of what is in here. So you're not going to get anywhere near as strong a cup of tea. And why are we working in 3 grams? For those of you who may not remember, you need 3 grams of tea to 8 ounces of water for a good cup of tea. And then here's a fun one. So this is an old brewing spoon, right, out of the 1800s. This big Da Hung Pao leaf, you only get 1/2 gram into this spoon. So you're not even getting 1/3 of what you would get here. So why is the spoon so small? And why is the old tea strainer so small? The tea that the British East India Company used to bring in was not large leaf tea. It was small tea, often referred to in the industry as dust and fannings. Might have been slightly larger, but really you're talking about a small cut. So these two were really meant for this tea. However, even so our mid-size one is meant for that. I was able to get 3 grams in here, but we're going to do something fun. I'm going to try to actually close this without spilling the tea. Notice that's I got it. Easier said than done. And we're actually going to brew this cup of tea along with this infuser, and we're going to compare the 2 leaves after we get them out. Because what's going to happen is they're going to get bigger as they get wetter, and we may run out of room in here. So let's go see what happens. Here we are brewing Da Hung Pao, 3 grams each in these 2 cups. The one on the left has got the old ball infuser, and the one on the right is our more modern day. The first thing you should notice is the difference in the color of the brew. So we've finished brewing up our Da Hung Pao, and what I want to show you is just how wet the leaves get. Because that's really what you're worried about with an infuser, is making sure your leaves have got plenty of room to spread out and get wet all the way to the center stem. And so that's what you're after. So the fun part is pulling out this guy, right? So he's not as easy to empty. And trying to pop this open without burning your fingers. And what you notice when you get in here, which is a little hard to see on camera, is while they did get wet, I'm not able to actually fully unfurl, which means they did not, without breaking it, which means the leaves did not get as much water into them and penetrated as they did out of this infuser. So while the small ball may be able to hold 3 grams, you want to pay attention again to leaf length. It's okay to stick 3 grams of a Maltese almond here, but 3 grams of your Da Hong Pao, and you're not going to get that same cup that you would with an infuser like this. So that's not to say go get rid of grandma's old tea ball. It's still very useful. Just pay attention to your tea leaves. And if you've got any questions about infusers or other tea equipment, don't forget to leave those in the comments and subscribe to the channel.